I think we
Good
all...
morning. It's the Call Flow Radio Show, and you're on the air.
Yes, I think we know what that means. It is time for the Call Flow Show. And gratefully, in the house, we have Mayor Vincent. He has a shirt on that says, "Keep calm, I'm the mayor." I like that. So, good sir, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing this morning?
I'm all right. I drink coffee for the first time in a while, so I'm starting to race.
Got y'all cranked up.
You do. All righty. So what you got for us these days?
You know, there's a lot going on in town right now. I guess first and foremost on most folks' mind is the hazy conditions outside.
Absolutely.
So I think I saw this morning that the air quality index is around 113, which is a little higher than yesterday at this time, so just be mindful of that. If you have any respiratory issues, sort of mitigate your time outside and make sure you're not spending too much time out there.
I lived in California when the wildfires were going on there. We had to evacuate a few times, and so this kind of, it triggers me.
Right, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
But yeah.
It's not something we normally have to deal with.
Well, you don't really know until you've been out too long, that you've been out too long. So, take care of yourself.
Yeah. But, we've been busy in town. We just passed our budget for the next fiscal year.
Congratulations.
So that's always good to get that behind you. And once you get that behind you, things kind of settle down for the summer. It's not the busiest time on council, but there's lots of projects going on in town. There's lots of paving projects going on, so you'll see those guys out there working on that. Most of it right now is focused over on the Cumberland side, on the Plank Road, River Road area. So be mindful that there'll be a schedule of paving happening there. We just had some spot paving done up here on High Street near the campus. And we've been working on...
I have a question about the paving.
Go for it.
How do you decide where you're going to pave and when you're going to pave?
Yeah, it's kind of based off, we're trying to get onto a rotating cycle based on need. And then once that kind of gets sorted out, have almost like a GPS map sort of configuration where you can just have regular maintenance. Every 5 years it's circulating,
right.
And so right now it kind of operates on a roving circuit so that no neighborhood is
forgotten.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so if my street needed paving, could I go door to door and get a petition signed for me to get paving done on my street?
I mean, you can definitely advocate as a citizen in democracy. That participation is key, so you are welcome to do that, yes.
Cool.
Whether or not it lines perfectly up with
your schedule.
The schedule, yes. The other thing we've got, Wilkes Lake is continuing to turn into a recreation area. We just there was a playground there across from the library that had gotten taken down because it became unsafe, and then COVID supply issues created a problem, so we had that closed for a while. But they just finally put back in a little toddler playground there, so for little kids. So it's very low to the ground. It's around the same footprint as the previous playground, and then all the additional playground pieces will get put in around it as time allows. But just so folks know, there's a new little tiny toddler playground for the little kids.
Does the tiny toddler one have the water?
No. So it's funny because that's the first thing everybody asked when they saw that was, all right, where's the water park? And so on the other side of the library, over near the entrance to the Wilkes Lake Island, is the Lions Club playground there, and that's a very large playground, right? And that's where the splash pad will be. Will be over on that side. We're hoping to have that completed by the end of summer. So
excellent. It'd be nice to have that at the beginning of
it. Would be nice, but with the way things work and getting folks on site to get the work done, sometimes it's just the way it happens. So we'll have it for next summer, hopefully. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I think there was an article about they're waiting for some sand right now, or did they get the sand?
Yeah, there's a pile of sand up by the library right now, so that they'll be able to take care of that. But then we're waiting on the guys to show up to sort of lay out where that pad will exactly lie so we can see it in relation to everything else. Because we do have a recreation master plan that calls for a number of different things over there at Wilkes Lake, but not just at Wilkes Lake, across the town. We have a bunch of things in that plan, and so just kind of mapping everything out helps.
Yeah. Excuse me. That Wilkes Lake Park there that I think you're talking about, right in front of the library. I thought that was for ducks or geese. Yeah, it was a geese refuge there.
It seems that way a lot of times. Yes, I know. Like in our 5-year capital improvements plan, which is a flexible living document, we have in there some plans to expand the skate park, which is right there, and then potentially put in a mountain bike, BMX bike, sort of like pump track for kids and adults.
Yeah, fun.
So it would really fill out that area, and having those folks there recreating, expanding that in that grass field may force the geese to shift their existence and focus. Yes.
Yeah, a good skateboard park is really nice to have. I mean, it to a certain extent, I think it keeps kids safe because they aren't running around town trying to go off,
Well, it feeds into an important thing that I heard campaigning, which was Farmville does a really good job with younger kids and adult programming, but we are missing some teen and tween programming. And so coming up and making sure we fill out those recreational amenities that speak to the youth and keep them engaged in fun outdoor activities is definitely important.
It is good. Did you do skateboard parks?
I was a skater a little bit for a time in my youth. I rode BMX bikes. I was a skateboarder. I did all the things.
Okay.
Yes.
You spent some time at the parks then.
Yes.
I didn't get to do that until my son was in the age to do it. It was scooters that we went for, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I wish I'd done it when I was younger.
Right. Other updates, we met recently with the Prince Edward Board of Supervisors, had a joint meeting with Town Council and the Board of Supervisors to talk about areas in which we could continue to collaborate. And there's new members on our council, there's new members on the Board of Supervisors, so it gave us a great opportunity to connect and form relationships. Because what's good for the town is good for the county and vice versa. And oftentimes in localities like ours, those governing bodies will kind of butt heads about different things. But I think if we're all pushing collectively in the same direction for the common good, then that's best served when we're all working together. So we're continuing to build those relationships and make sure we find some collaborative efforts.
That was with Prince Edward, because Prince Edward is where Farmville is.
Predominantly, yes. There's a portion over on the Cumberland side once you cross the Appomattox River that Farmville split a little bit. It's predominantly Prince Edward County, but there's a little section over there on the Cumberland side. We don't want to forget those folks because they're just as important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and my family business is over there, so I like to make sure we don't forget the Cumberland side. But yes, at some point it wouldn't be a bad idea to meet with the Cumberland Board of Supervisors either, but it is a small chunk of their county.
But you wouldn't meet with Buckingham for any reason, or
not in this capacity. I mean, no aversion to it because collectively, there's a regional council that's been forming and a regional advisory council that's been forming that I'm on with some folks in different surrounding counties, and those are opportunities there to connect and collaborate with those counties because Farmville does often serve as the central hub for the surrounding area, so it's good to connect with those folks.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what else you got on tap these days?
I just got done with I'm serving on a legislative committee for the Virginia Municipal League, which is the Commonwealth's sort of collective of elected officials throughout the Commonwealth, and VML serves as like an advocacy educational outfit. And so I serve on the legislative committee this year, which means I'll be one of the folks helping craft the legislative policy for VML that represents towns, cities, et cetera, and that those issues get brought to the General Assembly to advocate on behalf of our localities. So just had our first meeting with that.
I was just wondering if you had like an example of what you're talking about. What would be accomplished in these meetings?
Yeah. So, for instance, like we just had at our last work session for our town council, we just had a couple of conditional use permit proposals for accessory dwelling units. Right, ADUs are very popular right now. Accessory dwelling units allow especially for like multi-generational families to coexist in a space, right? You have like it's been popular before, but you have your house, you have your accessory dwelling unit where somebody can live out there.
Oh, yeah.
And so then you're close. And so one of the issues that's come up in the General Assembly, and the governor actually had a Make Virginia Home plan, and it was sort of garnered around trying to craft policies that incentivized localities to get to affordable and diverse housing quicker. But some, while I'm in agreement with a lot of it, some of the components of it strip even more power away from localities, like
Really?
potentially.
Okay.
If they were to pass, like with accessory dwelling units, they could, essentially say you have to strip away some of the red tape and allow people to get to accessory dwelling units faster, as opposed to having to go through the process they go through now. And it's like, well, as localities, we like to retain some of that control because each locality is different, right? We are distinctly different than Northern Virginia. We are distinctly different than the East Coast. And so maintaining that control for each locality is important, and maintaining the ability to say, we're a little different, so we need to still be able to manage that and massage it so that it fits our community.
Aren't there like size limitations on what you can put? California, we call them granny units. It could only be 900 square feet, and that type of thing is what you're talking about.
Right, yeah, and there are, but what I'm saying is the General Assembly and the governor will, right now with affordable housing being such a huge issue, I think Commonwealth-wide they say we are short 200,000 housing units.
Really?
Wow. And so getting to that, they're trying to find ways to get to that quicker. Like localities often, when you bring up these subjects, you have people who say, not in my backyard, and it creates a lot of conflict. And so they're looking for ways to get there quicker. But what we want, and it's a tough balance because Virginia is a Dillon rule state versus a home rule state, which means that we do have to adhere to what the state says a lot of times. But we want to retain as much sort of control and ability to dictate our future as we possibly can. And so part of what I'll do in that legislative committee with other elected officials who are in there is continue to find ways that advocate on behalf of localities to make sure that some of those bills that come up maybe get tabled, and then some other bills that we think are important get pushed through.
And I think this is, to me, it's really important. I lived on a homestead type of thing. We built 4 houses on the same piece of property. It was fantastic to live with, the family, the in-laws, the sisters and brothers, cousins. And it's nice to hear that that's being encouraged, because I think our environment, where we are headed, Farmville's lucky because housing prices are pretty low here, but everywhere else it's so high. And I suspect Farmville is starting to get up closer and closer to what the norm is in the state and across the country. So this is the only option for a lot of people.
Yeah, and what you have to consider is where we sit as far as income level, poverty, that sort of thing, in relation to our housing costs, right? Because that makes it different. Like, while some people may come here from Northern Virginia, go, it's really cheap. If you grew up here, you're like, it's starting to get pretty high,
right?
So it's all perspective from where you are, and so being mindful, that what we want to provide is a diverse setting and options so that we can have a well-rounded community. Because I think, from my perspective personally, resiliency is important, and resiliency is built through diversity. And so making sure that we maintain that and be a welcome spot for all folks and all and have all the options available is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I for some reason, the thought of the Amish folks, I've dealt with a lot of them.
Yep.
How does this affect them in any really way differently than anything else? Do they have any different
No, I mean, most of the Amish community is placed outside of the town limits. So no, not in any real way, no. They've been a great addition to our community as that community has grown, for sure. Industrious, creating businesses. It's been fantastic. Once again, just another reminder that when you're on some of those back roads, particularly in Buckingham County, to make sure that you are not whipping around corners, because there are often buggies on the road, and you don't want to be
right.
You don't want to be involved in anything.
And I know I've heard people kind of complain about it, and since I drove Amish for a while, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what they go through. I actually asked them about this, and it is the car that's coming from behind and flying past their horse, and the horse just kind of freaks out. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's for folks who complain, it's like, it's not a bad thing to occasionally have something in life that slows you down. We don't need to race through everything.
Great perspective.
Yeah.
You should have told me that before I had my cup of coffee. But, yeah, that's good. Yeah. So what else be happening in the area?
Oh man, there's been a lot of great events lately. I think the next week I'll attend a 1-day conference for local elected officials where we'll cover some rules and procedure stuff. We'll cover there'll be some marijuana legislation talk. There'll be some land use talk. Currently, our vice mayor here, Mr. Chucky Reed, who's a phenomenal member of this community, serves as the president of that Virginia Municipal League. Oh. And so he and I will be there. I think another one of our council members, Adam Yolen, will be there. And it's a 1-day conference. You'll just kind of get some rules of the road updates on stuff and get prepared for the next General Assembly session, and also kind of catch up on where we are budget-wise with the General Assembly for the state, because that's been a little bumpy. But
really, so
that'll be a good opportunity. We'll have another meeting. I think we're planning on doing 2 meetings a year with the Prince Edward Board of Supervisors. So that won't happen again until the fall. I know we're on tap to have some meetings with Longwood University in the fall as well, and just continue to maintain open lines of communication. For me, that's always, I say it at work and I say it as mayor, the biggest thing is information. You never want to get caught on your back foot. And so open lines of communication, make sure nobody feels slighted, nobody's feeling like they're on their back foot and having to catch up.
How dare you? You sound like sane and reasonable. I don't know what's going on here, folks, but you heard it.
Keep calm, I'm the mayor. That's the idea.
You got it. Actually, I want to remind people they can call up if they've got a question or comment for Mayor Vincent. It is 434-394-0924. We'd be happy to hear from you. I had a question about, you were talking about the state, that being a little rough, possibly. What is the relationship as a mayor to the state government or the state legislation and all that?
So, you do have to be on top of it, right? Because what happens in the General Assembly, what happens with the governor's administration affects every locality in the Commonwealth. And so maintaining positive relationships in those arenas is imperative. A lot of times, the good projects and the really good things you see come down to localities are partly a result of those relationships, so they're important. But like similar with being actively engaged in the Virginia Municipal League, you need to stay on top of what legislation is out there, what's potential, because how do you, one, proactively plan for things you think are going to happen, and also how do you proactively react to things you don't want to happen? So you got to stay on top of it. And so, we have representatives who represent us in the House of Delegates and the state Senate. You got to have good relationships with those individuals because that's how you get stuff done. Mm-hmm. So it's imperative. I mean, it's all built on relationships. And one of the benefits for me that I've always touted is that I stand as a pretty true independent person when it comes to politics. And so I'm able to establish really good working relationships across aisles in Richmond. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of good relationships and friendships on both sides. And so I feel very confident in my ability to navigate those rooms.
I was actually going to be my next question. How is politics affecting you and what you want to accomplish? I know it's a crazy world right now.
It is.
And I think a lot of us are just going, hey, maybe we can just agree to disagree. I mean, wouldn't that be really, really nice?
Yeah, for me, that's been a huge component of what I do. I'm a huge advocate of decency and listening to folks. I mean, I'm tired of the idea that you're only listening to respond. I love the idea of truly listening to people and trying to understand where they're coming from.
WFLO, you're on the air. Hello?
Hey, Larry, Danny here. I want to thank the mayor for coming in, but I want to throw out a question. Early in the spring, I know the town sold the former Wedgwood Country Club. I think it was to another entity, maybe from Richmond. I'm not for sure. I was just curious if the mayor was aware of what may develop or anything may happen at the club as far as planning of will it ever reopen.
Yes, I believe the golf course is, I think they're going to keep it a golf course, and the plan is to have it be open. I thought it might have already been open, but maybe I'm mistaken. But I know that, I know that is the game plan from what I've heard.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Danny. We're going to want to find out if he's coming in or not.
Yeah, from my perspective, that's a huge thing, right? That's one of the reasons I wear the shirt sometimes as a joke. One of my cousin-in-law, who's been involved in state government for quite some time now, sent me this shirt when I got elected. And that's kind of the idea around it. We're so addicted to outrage. Like, everything is generated, like, we are incentivized, whether it's TV, whether it's social media, to be outraged about stuff. I mean, as mayor, people often ask what it's like, and it's funny. You can do the most innocuous thing, and there will be a portion of people who will be so fired up against it. It's like, this is, and it's just the way we're culturally being ingrained. Yeah. And so, as much as I can push back against that, I do by trying to be calm, by trying to stay rational. A lot of what I study, whether it's the philosophy or the religion, is geared towards trying to maintain that characteristic. I don't always succeed. I fail often. I'm a husband and a father who is as flawed as everybody else. But I make an effort every day to get a little bit better, and part of that is to serve as an example for how hopefully we can relearn to interact with each other.
I always like to hear somebody talk about service, because to me that's kind of the key to existing here. You know, without it, what are we up to? I did want to ask you, how's the family?
Everybody's doing well. Yeah, everybody's doing well. Staying busy. The kids are out of school. Right now they're doing different camps and locally, and then they'll go away. They do a 3-week away camp in the summer, and at an all-girls camp, which they really enjoy. So that's coming up for them as well. So everybody's doing well.
Fantastic. That sounds good. Yeah. How's business?
Business is good. Business is good. It's interesting time for us on the business front. It's similar to like a 2019 year. For outdoor stuff, which is interesting. You know, we had some boom years, and we probably sold 10 years worth of product in like 2 to 3 years. And so now inevitably that doesn't hold, right? Booms do not stay. That's why they're booms. And so juggling that, you know, there's been a lot of shifts in our industry as of late, and just trying to figure out the best path forward. But, you know, we're holding tight at a 2019 sort of pace, and you know, doing well. Our costs are down, but our revenue's doing all right.
Excellent. That's good to know. I've got to do bottom of the hour weather. You can stick around?
Sure.
All right. Excellent. And with that, this edition of the weather is brought to you by the Bank of Charlotte County.
Hello, I'm Stuart Wilborn, manager of the Bank of Charlotte County Loan Office in downtown Farmville. I invite you to call or come by and see me about your loan needs. Whether it's time to purchase investment property, build your dream house, expand your business, or purchase timberland or farmland, you will find old-school personal assistance with attention to detail. Stop by our office at 216 North Main Street or call us at 391-1136. The Bank of Charlotte County, giving you more for your banking needs. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
All righty. The temperature outside right now is 62 degrees, and we're supposed to get up to 75 with partly sunny skies. And overnight, partly cloudy with a low of 53. On Saturday, sunny skies again with a high of 82, and overnight clear with a low of 60. On Sunday, it is going to get up to 85, starting to get a little toasty out there, mostly sunny, and overnight a 30% chance of rain, which would be really nice to get this air cleaned out. On Monday, there's an 80% chance of storms. That should take care of it with a high of 74 and overnight 62, again with an 80% chance of storms. On Tuesday, it will be 79 degrees, mostly sunny, and overnight partly cloudy with a low of 60, and on Wednesday, 81 for a high sunny, low 61, partly cloudy. Looks good to me. Looks like a beautiful late spring, early summer forecast. And the Bank of Charlotte County with branch locations in Phoenix, Charlotte Courthouse, Brooknell, and their loan offices in downtown Farmville. The birthday calendar, woohoo, it is brought to you by Terry Atkins Wilson.
The law office of Terry Atkins Wilson, PC, is located at 117 North Main Street in downtown Farmville. With deep roots in Farmville and our surrounding communities, Terry and her legal staff specialize in real estate law, wills and trusts, business formations, and collections. Experience and professionalism are extended to every customer in every case. The needs and concerns of every customer are their primary focus. If you have legal needs, contact the law office of Terry Atkins Wilson, PC, for a consultation at 434-392-1422.
Thank you, John. All right, we have birthdays Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we have quite the list today. Let's start with Maggie R. Condon. Happy birthday. Amber Owen. Somebody put Donald Duck on here, but maybe it is Donald Duck's birthday. Doug Boyling, Abigail Spencer, and we have an anniversary with Charles and Joyce Wenger. And that's the birthdays for today. For tomorrow, it's Mackenzie Singer and Jackson Singer, too. Maybe that's an anniversary. Maybe they're twins. Just never know. On Sunday, Bob Horn, Ben Jenigan Jr., and that's what I have on my list. Oh, I have another one here. It looks like Sandy Bernard on the 10th. It is her birthday. Happy birthday to everyone. Let's see. Let's get back to Mayor Vincent. Whoa! You're still here. So glad to see you. So what's up?
One of the things I'd like to make sure we highlight is that our Fireworks After Dark event is coming up July 3rd, and that is from 6 to 10 p.m. The Fireworks After Dark is downtown. This is the second year we'll have it downtown. So there's lots of events going on. The fireworks will be shot off the top of the town hall again. There'll be a bigger and longer display this year than last year. There'll be lots of events and bands and food trucks and local business restaurants open. And it's, for me, a great event that I like to see develop because it brings that whole energy to downtown. When we first did it last year, there were some complaints about the fireworks not being as big as out when we used to do it out at the airport. But it's not possible and feasible to do it at the airport any longer. So we had to come up with a new plan. This plan, for me, I guess, really, it's like what constitutes patriotism and your celebration of independence, right? Like, for me, it's the collective of our community coming together to celebrate. Like, that's the most important thing to me. And so having that event downtown brings everybody downtown. Everybody gets to interact with each other. And as many opportunities as we can to have the community come together and intermingle and truly interact with each other outside of our sort of silos is important. And so that day especially is important.
4th of July was my dad's favorite holiday, and we were always in the parade. And so has Farmville thought about a parade?
Yeah, there's been thought about it. We have not done one, but yes, there has been a thought about it. It's the Fireworks After Dark puts a bit of strain on our great Farmville Police Department because they have to sort of maintain everything, and those fine folks do an amazing job. And so anytime you're shutting down streets and that sort of thing, that you had to keep that in mind. But it has been a conversation, and one that I think we'll continue to have, because I've seen quite a few other folks mention it as well. And I've also lived in other localities where they had that, and you got the kids rolling downtown on the bikes, all decorated, and that brings a lot of joy to folks. So
yeah, I think that was part of it. I lived in Prescott, Arizona, and 100,000 people would come from Phoenix up to this 10,000 person town, and it was quite the event. We look forward to it all year long.
Heck yeah. So. Another event, we just actually I had a fireworks after dark meeting this past week, and then right after that we had a tree lighting ceremony meeting. So we do the tree lighting every winter. Usually the first Friday, I'm going to get this wrong, first Friday I think before Thanksgiving, or the Friday before Thanksgiving. And it's a great event downtown at the Caboose Plaza. I think you had Farmville Downtown Partnership here recently. Nancy and Carolyn, those folks are great and have been doing a great job. And now we're sort of formulating a good partnership with FDP and the Chamber and the town to bring a little more to that tree lighting ceremony, which is a great ceremony on its own. Just the huge tree, the kids, the excitement. It's one of my favorite events, and this will be my first year sort of getting to be at the helm of it to a certain degree. Nice. I mean, most of those folks in FDP and the Chamber are the ones who do the real work, and our town employees do the real work.
I was going to ask you
that. I just get to show up and be ceremonial.
How does that relationship work? You know, when they were here, I was thinking about that too, and it sounds like they do wonderful things. They find places to improve the downtown and ways to improve the downtown. And I was thinking about the process that they have to go through, because I'm sure a lot of these things have to go through the city to be approved to happen. So,
well, yeah, there's a lot of effort working together, right? We are fortunate here in Farmville, as I'm sure you've seen, that we have a great community of advocates and a great community of service-minded individuals. We have amazing civic groups that are populated with people who are highly motivated. We have nonprofits with people who are highly motivated, and all to help the town. And so what's really important is just making sure we're all working together in our best good faith possible, and not butting heads too much. And I think you see a lot of that now. So FDP is a Main Street organization. There's lots of those organizations across the Commonwealth, and they have to partner with their locality in order to be successful. And so we're happy to partner with them. We do give them some funding annually.
Oh, okay.
And then making sure that, if you have a healthy Main Street organization, a healthy chamber, you get a healthy industrial development authority, an IDA, you begin to create, we've got the small business group off from Longwood. Once we've got all these great pieces, and getting them all to work together has been amazing to watch those relationships develop over my time here. And it just gives you a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of possibility, because all of them can apply for different grants. All of them can bring different ideas to the table. And for me, that was always one of my things is I never claimed to be the smartest person in the room. And so being able to bring ideas in from all over the place and weigh those out and have everybody have a seat at the table to where we can find the best way forward for everybody is good. And FDP has jumped in and revitalized their organization a little bit, gotten reaccredited. And so we're happy to support them and happy to see the work they can do.
You keep talking reasonable, and it's just so odd.
That's right. It's funny that when I got into politics, it was people were like, how are you going to make any noise if you're not making noise? And it's like it's just not my way, right? If I can't be successful at this by providing a model of calm and rational, then I don't want to do it. So we'll see how it works.
I like hearing that. Say it again. Mike, I have a question about the interaction with Longwood I get the sense in Farmville that Longwood is here. Don't touch Longwood. Everybody's kind of skirting around Longwood, and it sort of feels like let's keep our students, our kids, safe and stuff. But I often wonder how that community can kind of interact more with the Farmville community and how we can provide what they would like to have downtown and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there has been a lot of that relationship has improved dramatically over the years. I know under my predecessor, Mayor Whitus, he was a graduate of Longwood, and his relationship with President Reevely proved to bear some good fruit. And I think that we've continued that relationship and dialogue. I have a dialogue and relationship with Reevely as well, and the Vice President Justin Pope is my neighbor. And have lots of ties to the university. I think you've seen the university move downtown with the bookstore. I think when they come online with that innovation hub that's going to be in Midtown, and then
it's an innovation hub,
right? So there's going to be this innovation hub in Midtown, and it'll be like an incubator space almost. And while it will be used by students, it'll also be open to community members, and so they'll have lots of avenues by which you can incubate ideas for businesses and that sort of thing. And my version of that has always been the idea that you could streamline a process by which these Longwood kids and their fresh ideas come into that space, create stuff, and then can have pop-up businesses downtown and maybe grow into an established business downtown.
Nice.
And so it becomes a funnel or a pipeline for that. Then you got the Joan Perry Brock Center. When that comes online, will be not only a home for basketball, but it'll be a home for music acts and regional events there. And so I think all of these things continue to tie the university to the town.
Is that a stadium or?
Yes, it's
how many people? Or?
You're going to ask me. I don't want to be wrong, but I think it's in the 5,000 range. If I'm correct, but I don't want to speak out of turn. But it's a pretty good stadium and a really exciting opportunity, I think, for town.
And where's that going to go in?
It's up by the two big towers. It's over there near the tennis courts area. And it's going to be a great addition to the area. I mean, I think Longwood and Reevely, I've gone and spoken to numerous classes there. I've spoken to a lot of philosophy classes and political science classes, and some of their honors college programs have asked me to come speak. And so they keep those ties open. I have a good relationship with a lot of professors there who are deeply tied into our community and invested here. And I know that the administration there as well, when they're looking to grow civic leaders, which is part of their philosophy,
exactly, yes.
They are tying into the community. I know our basketball coach, Griff, is very adamant about his players being tied into the community. And so I think there's a real sense here in Farmville that if you get involved in sort of those workings, you see that the university and the town are making efforts to keep that relationship strong, to recognize that, once again, I mean, I'm a rising tide guy. What benefits Longwood benefits town. What benefits town benefits the university. Good
point. And a lot of those kids coming out of there can provide, after they graduate, all kinds of services into the community itself. Right. And we want them to stay here, or some of them.
Ideally, yes. We would like to inspire a few of them to stick around for sure. And that's all fed into the plan of coming up with a diverse level of housing and then service and amenities and job opportunities and economic development. So you're continuing to try and find ways to make our rural area as unique as it can be, which it's proven to be. And I think the universities, both Longwood and Hampton-Sydney, bring such a tremendous amount of energy to our area.
It's amazing when when they're in session, the vibration of this place goes up significantly. And when they're gone, I didn't realize it. Last year, I was kind of feeling like there's something wrong. There's something wrong. By the end of the summer, I was like, the kids aren't here. And I finally figured it out.
It's fun. We get the best of both worlds.
Really. My father-in-law was like, I want them out. It's easier to drive around town. But are there any kind of factions here that kind of are butting heads just not making anything possible, or is it's just people being people, or are there really groups of people headed towards?
Not that I see. I think, there's been sometimes, some sentiments maybe amongst some of the population. It's like, oh, does Longwood always get what it wants, or things of that sort? And I can attest that is not the case. Mm-hmm. I can also attest that we don't always get what we want. Like, it's just the way life is. None of us always gets what we want.
What?
Yeah. What's just important to remember is that all of these groups are working to create the best possible outcome for the most amount of people, right? Uh-huh. Like, nobody wants to do something that proves detrimental to the area, because to what end does that serve, right? It just doesn't make sense. So as long as you realize that while you may disagree with somebody over their idea or their pathway, they're still, hopefully you're operating in good faith, and they're coming to the table with these ideas, with the idea that it's for the greater good, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we're all trying to do. We're all here trying to serve this community, do the best work we can do, and we're all flawed human beings. So sometimes it doesn't work the way we want it to.
What are you talking about?
But maintaining that level of decency and understanding with each other is imperative. And I think this community does a really good job of keeping its ears open and being understanding.
Well, and because it's a small town, and having grown up in a small town, what I recognize is there's this attitude, let's keep it exactly how it has been for the last 100 years. And then there's the other side of that coin, which is, hey, we want to progress. We want to do some things. This is the future. This is, so that's the nature of the beast.
Well, yeah, and it's the pull and tug of generational change.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens every time, right? I mean, the generation, the generation that's older always looks back and thinks the one coming behind it's naive, and the generation coming up always looks up at the next generation and says they're out of touch. Like, it's just the way it happens. It's cyclical. It happens every generational shift, and right now we have a big one.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, as long as people just maintain that idea that we're all sort of collectively trying to get to a good place, and what you may deem as like the absolute most important thing may be distinctly different than the next generation that's coming up. Yeah. And we have to keep that in mind if we want this place to be vibrant.
Exactly. And it takes people who are willing to listen, willing to consider different ideas, diversity, as you've talked about. And so that's really important. I don't know how we can nurture that except for listen ourselves.
Exactly. Provide an example. The other side of it is I often look for ways in which, particularly like with an older generation and a younger generation, the things that are important to them that intersect, and finding those intersections so that you can have wins for both, and engendering that sort of celebration is important to me. So I'm always looking for those avenues, and a lot of them happen to be, from my perspective, do seem to be recreational minded, right? Like everybody, whether if you're aging or younger, there seems to be an interest in less dependability on vehicles, right? And so finding ways for people to navigate town via trail systems and good sidewalks and things like that.
There's no bus system here.
There's a bus system.
There is.
There's the Farmville area bus. Yeah, the town that runs the FAB.
Okay.
It does run around town. You can find it online and find their route online.
I don't remember ever seeing a bus here, so that's interesting.
Yeah, we have one. It doesn't have a huge range, but then town's not huge.
Right.
But we do have a Farmville area bus, and they do a great job.
Cool. And having the college here, and like you said, that generation, my son has no desire to drive a car, and it's really a popular idea.
Yes, absolutely.
with the younger ones, and some people don't. It's hard for us to believe that, since we counted the days until we could actually get in that car and drive by ourselves.
Right. That's right. Exactly. And that's, when I talk about like zoning, You think about how we increasingly zoned for single-family homes on larger and larger plots, and it's like that's not necessarily what the next generations want. And so all that zoning incentivized car travel, right?
Right.
And so now all these localities are like, oh, wait, maybe we should rethink this and think about different zoning that creates interconnected neighborhoods by which there's multimodal transportation, whether it's bike or walking, making sure things are more pedestrian and bike friendly, because that's what's appealing. That's what's appealing to these next generations coming up, is that sort of style of living. And I think it's good, considering I'm not sure the internet has done us any favors as far as connecting with each other.
Yes. Well, yeah, there's two sides to that coin. I would never know what my nieces and nephews and stuff were doing also, but I'm not going to spend 24/7 on the computer. How is Farmville growing right now? You're talking about these, like, I think this generation coming up, some of them like to be closer together. There's a sense of community and safety in all that. So apartments and those types of things are, I think, becoming more popular. We are a rural area, so a lot of people maybe come here from Richmond and everywhere else to experience the rural environment. So what's your take on how do you see it growing? Is it just growing both ways, or is it...
Right, so Farmville has a defined footprint, and so we have to infill. We've got areas that could be developed, but we have to be a little bit more flexible in our zoning to allow for some of that to happen. And so we're looking at those avenues and ways in which that can happen. There are some exciting things that can't yet be put out there, just because, as you'll see, like localities like us, we have closed sessions, and those sessions, like we had some at our work session on Wednesday night, are because you're in negotiations around acquisitions or assets, and you can compromise that by speaking on it. But there are some exciting developments that are coming that I think will speak to that very thing. We're always looking for ways to develop economically just smart growth, right? Like, you don't want to just say we need to grow and and do things outrageously. You want to be wise about it and make sure you're making the right decision. And so we're doing that. There are some things coming down the pipes that I think will be exciting that I just can't speak on quite yet. But having active groups like the Downtown Partnership, and there's already lots of good things happening. And I think there's some opportunity to bring more business to the area, and we're going to see that coming. And so just continue to fill that out, right? Continue to work with the county in wise ways and help and aid them in their pursuit of other activities, because all that helps us as well. It's a delicate balance between, as you said, a population that says keep it as it is, and then a population that says I want to be here, but I'd like to see this here. And so we're trying to thread that needle.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, right?
Shoot. No, that is not why you get into this. Shoot, I remember when I ran for council originally, I didn't even know I got paid. I walked in, and I often tell that story, but I want to stress that I think it is important that local elected officials do get paid. We don't get paid a lot. It's a part-time pay gig for a full-time work, but but it's important that there is pay, because if there wasn't, then you're creating a barrier of entry, right? Then it can only be retired people who are well off, who can afford to give their time, right? Versus somebody able to be compensated a little bit for it. So, but it is not. It's not a. It's my youngest daughter. I picked her up from camp the other day, and she said, "I had to." She's 9. She said, "I had to straighten this one girl out." I said, "What happened?" She said, "She kept telling me all mayors were rich." And I was like, well, you know the truth on that one. So it's not the case.
I'm walking evidence. Oh, man. Yeah. I had a question. I'm just not remembering what it was. But we're getting pretty close to the end. If anybody has a question, you better call in now, 434-394 0924. And if not, unless do you have something else to just wrap this up?
Sure. Like last time, I think I left you with a few quotes as we walked off, and so I'll leave it a few more. I've had a couple of community members who said they always appreciate when I plug a little philosophy and such into everything.
Absolutely.
And so I've got one, which is Proverbs 14:29. It says, "Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly." And the other one of my favorites, is a guy, Naval Ravikant, who says, "A fit body, a calm mind, a house full of love, these things cannot be bought. They must be earned."
Nice.
So keep earning it.
Yeah, it does. It takes a constant effort to connect with your fellows and whatever spirit you decide that you want to go on. And that's another topic for another day. And I thank you immensely for coming in. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I look forward to having you back.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you.
Best to you and all of your family.
Thank you.
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 Family.
Thank